is Speaking with Gravity, and I am Curvin.
I'm D.
And I'm Ty.
And we're the hosts for a podcast that speaks on mental health in our community and how everything affects everything. With every episode, the goal is to have a conversation that will make you think, make you feel, make you do what is best for you. I'm a therapist, but this isn't therapy. It's a podcast.
While we serve as mental health professionals, the information and content being discussed during our podcast is not intended to be utilized or substituted as therapy. The purpose of this broadcasting is to share our personal perspective through open dialogue about various content based on our personal, educational, and professional experience.
So today, on this episode, it's just us. We wanted to kind of bring awareness to S.A.D, seasonal affective disorder. We know that is this time of the year. This is kind of we see this more often, and everyone don't really know what it is, what it's about. So we want to bring some awareness to it. But before we get into all of that, we're gonna go ahead and do our Twitter discussion. And I thought this was kind of neat when I found it. This is by Dr. Joy. She's the founder and CEO of Therapy for Black Girls. Therapy for Black Girls, man, it's a directory of African American therapists or people who will see POCs or BIPOC people. POCs being people of color, BIPOC being black, and I can't say the I word. Indigenous. There you go. Indigenous. And I forgot what it's people of color. Okay, so black, indigenous, people of color. So. Those therapists are geared towards them, and they're on this particular website that has a directory for that. But she also writes, she has a podcast, her own podcast, where she talks about different things, and then, of course, she writes as well. But she tweeted not too long ago, "Today I'm grateful for beautiful fall weather and that I got to sleep in a little later. What about you?" And the part that got me was, what about you? On my Instagram, I put into my story not too long ago, like, when the last time you just appreciated yourself or appreciated things in general? And that's what this tweet made me think about, because a lot of times we get caught up in just day-to-day living. I gotta be here at this time. I gotta be there at that time. I gotta get this done for my son, or I gotta do this for my wife. And we just on the go. And if we think about the pandemic, that pandemic slowed everybody down. People was like, "Oh, okay, what I do now?" But now we're starting to pick up again, and we go right back into that rat race of just completing task after task, accomplishing goal after goal. At what point are we just sitting and being grateful? And that tweet gave me that sense of, okay, what am I thankful for in general? So how y'all feel about that? What are you grateful for? How about that? We start there. D, what are you grateful for today? I'm coming to you, Ty, so you better go ahead and start thinking.
In reality, I think I'm most grateful for just simple things. Being able to be emotionally and mentally sound. I think that's what I'm most grateful for right now. Being able to just be present, to think and process through things, to comprehend. I mean, I know that sounds kind of crazy, but really just not having to respond out of emotion immediately. I'm really just grateful for that, especially as things continue to change and circumstances and situations are changing. Just to be able to take a step back and look at situations and respond in a manner that is healthy for me. I'm grateful for that.
All right. It ain't necessarily crazy to say comprehend, because I think about that sometimes. Just being able to understand and be emotionally intelligent, self-aware.
Yes. I mean, really what in all actuality, I'm learning that more and more in certain environments, how people's lack of understanding sometimes creates such negative emotions for them. And so the fact that I'm able to understand what somebody is saying to me, or to be able to say openly, I don't understand what you're saying. Can you break that down?
Yeah.
Like, just that being comfortable in, if I don't understand something, to ask questions, but being confident in when I understand, I know it. Just though that simple action is something I'm just so grateful for. I see a lot of people who have challenged with it, and so yeah.
I don't take that as you saying I'm thankful for being smart.
No, not at all.
All right, Miss Ty.
To be transparent, honestly, I've struggled with gratitude, but today, right here, right now, I'm just grateful for breath. Just having breath in my body. That's all I can say right now. So yeah.
And them boots. They hot. They nice.
Thanks.
They nice. All right, so we got the QD of the hour.
So the QD of the hour, QD stands for quotable data, is another version of fun facts, information for you to be able to give to your family, friends, colleagues, coworkers, and or church members. Approximately 10 million American people are affected by seasonal affective disorder. It is more common in it is more common in women than men, and the age discovery is estimated to be between 18 and 30.
In the introduction.
As the time changes, leaves fall, and temperatures drop, so do our mood and thoughts. It is much more than holiday blues or a slight change of mood. People who experience this significant change in mood may find themselves withdrawing from family and friends or lacking energy to expand on normal activities. Seasonal affective disorder, also known as S.A.D, is a subtype of major depressive disorder, and the diagnosis presents with the depressive symptoms associated with the change of a particular season. Today we will discuss the ways to identify and address this diagnosis.
So I don't know if y'all notice, y'all being those who are viewing, and some of y'all that are listening, we read off the first beginning of the episode. But we're doing that because we want to make sure that you know what the episode about. You at least get like some tidbit that you can take away and either Google it or learn more about it. So that's why we do that. But I'm saying this because I'm about to clown y'all. The reason I'm saying I'm about to clown y'all, as I've gotten older, it's so much harder to read out loud. I can process it. And I'm reading and I know what I'm saying. I can look at the word and know what I'm about to say. You knew you was about to say slight, but you was like, so what? You know that word. You've been saying that word for years. And I'm listening to both of y'all. And I'm like, okay, it's not just me.
No.
And it's really been happening to me like the last year and a half as I'm trying to read out loud. I just mess up the simplest words. But I have an understanding of that. But I just want to throw that out there real quick. All right, so we're talking about seasonal affective disorder, also referred to as S.A.D. As we go through this journey of being a therapist, there are things that we kind of know, we're aware of, and then it's something that kind of takes us. Some things we're aware of, but we didn't have a term for it, and this is one of those. One of those things. I knew about depression in general, but I had never heard of seasonal affective disorder until I was going to. I had a supervisor. I said I have a supervisor. The reason I say I have because if I have a situation or a problem that I need to talk with someone about, I still go to her. Shout out to Miss Giovanna Gathers Burgess. She know who she is. But I still go to her if I need something, and she made me do a write-up on this right from the beginning when I started working with her. But just to define it, seasonal affective disorder is a recurrent major depressive disorder in which episodes occur during the same season each year, sometimes referred to as winter depression. Although I did find out that it doesn't have to be in the winter necessarily. It could be a seasonal thing. It can literally be in the summer. Somebody around about the same time, summertime or springtime, they could be feeling this. But more commonly known as a winter disease. And they typically put that together because of the change of not only the change of season, but the lighting. You get darker sooner. Then you got the cold weather. Everybody don't like the cold weather, so on and so forth. Most see depression as it's something that happens. Let me see how I wrote this down. Must see depression in specific seasons for at least 2 years. Okay, so during that particular season, you're seeing it multiple times. Not necessarily it didn't just happen. Okay, it happened in 2021 and I'll never see it again, or it happened back in 2018 during this particular season. I never saw it again, but it happened 2 or 3 times in the same exact season. Okay, now we need to look at that. And you're a therapist. As a therapist, we're looking at patterns. Whenever we're talking, when we're gathering information in the assessment, and everybody's not as forthcoming during an assessment, they're not always as revealing. Sometimes people are extremely revealing. So there's a lot to process. But over time, we can establish a pattern. We can see things, and that would be one of them, to see if that person, from time to time, at a particular season, will feel a certain type of way. Which one of y'all want to read off these symptoms? Are the symptoms the same as other depression, if anybody was wondering that?
I will. So are the symptoms the same as other depressions? Yes and no. It is the same as other more commonly known depression. You may see things such as low mood, marked loss of interest and pleasure in everyday activities, decreased motivation, decreased energy and fatigue, feeling worthless or guilty, a decreased libido, so it kind of affects your sexual desires, impaired concentration, and irritability. However, with winter SAD, you will often more see increased sleep with a strong desire to sleep during the daytime, increased appetite and cravings, especially for carbohydrates, and weight gain. And this came from Psychology Today.
Yeah, I didn't know that about the carbohydrates.
Neither did I.
Yeah, but the stuff that we're putting out here, I try to go back, or we try to go back, and collectively and go back and check ourselves, because we don't want to give you the wrong information. And like I said earlier, it's not necessarily during the winter time per se. It can be a summer depression, or it can be in the early spring. Who does it affect?
So, who does it affect? Everyone, men and women. SAD is more frequent in people who live far north or south of the equator, and people with a family history of other types of depression are more likely to develop SAD than people who do not have a family history of depression. Younger adults have a higher risk of SAD than older adults, and has been reported even in children and teens.
Yeah, and when you're talking about children and teens, man, I go back to, Ty, I think you were on. So when I started this whole podcast journey, I started it solo dolo, and I've quickly realized nobody want to look at me or just hear my monotone voice. But in the beginning, I think I had Ty on as the second episode, and I think D as the third. But D, you said something in your episode about children and teens. A lot of times we look at their development, and we just look at them as they just growing up, or they just being them, they're going through puberty. But they could very well be experiencing a diagnosis, and we're not looking at it like that. We're reacting to their behaviors that they're exhibiting or they're engaging in, and not looking at the whole picture and looking at a diagnosis, of which this could be one of them. Did y'all have anything to add to like who it affects? I think I said 10 million people too. Didn't I?
Yeah.
Just know it doesn't discriminate.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It can affect anybody at any time, and you never know what it's connected to. Again, I said earlier that we look at patterns, but we look at triggers too.
No, I was just going to talk about, I guess, how do you, what may be some effective alternatives to responding to SAD or seasonal. Affective disorder.
Seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah, I just kind of stopped right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all know this or not. Nature walks. That's one of my biggies. Just going, getting outside, I read an article that talked about being outside itself is helpful. I hear this word healing thrown around a lot, so I'm gonna say it. It's healing to be outside, and to some degree, we are outside people. That's where we come from, right? So just being outside in the nature is what I would say in the immediate.
Excuse me. Other ways I agree, being out in nature. Also, traditional talk therapy, psychotherapy, medication management for individuals. Medication management, again, for individuals who may have agreed, in addition to their psychiatrist or a nurse practitioner or primary care physician, that medication management, in addition to these other things, can assist them with managing their symptoms related to SAD. Also, light therapy. I don't know much about light therapy. Eating healthier, maintaining just an overall healthy lifestyle. I don't like to use the word diet, but just an overall lifestyle change can possibly assist with managing symptoms related to SAD.
Yeah, you've been on me about that lifestyle change, that eating lifestyle change.
And for me, I just recommend talking with your primary care physician. Don't self-diagnose. If you are experiencing symptoms, don't necessarily assume that this is what it is, because it could be something totally different for you. So seek professional assistance, and whether that's therapy, whether that's your physician, share your concerns so that they can connect you with an appropriate resource. If medication is recommended, don't feel like that's something you're obligated to do. Share your concerns if you are anti-medication, and talk about alternative approaches to that. Kervin kind of mentions being outside. We've talked about in previous episodes just controlling your breathing, social interaction, locating and looking up activities that you can do inside. So there's different ways that you can kind of combat this experience, just as any other disorder or diagnoses. And so don't minimize yourself by assuming that if you are experiencing this, it's the end all be all. There are ways to effectively live with and fight against that diagnosis.
No matter what your diagnosis is, really,
Right.
it's never the end all be all. I mean, that's the whole purpose of therapy, to gain coping skills, to get interventions, to get stuff off your chest, to help process, and then gain a better understanding, like you were saying. Because if you don't have that understanding, it can lead to you engaging in behaviors that's going to negatively affect you.
Right.
Yeah, education is so important, kind of like Dee was mentioning. For those who choose to go to their PCPs, most may not feel comfortable just going to a traditional therapist for whatever reason. But if you have that strong rapport relationship with your primary care physician, highlighting some of these things, if you're even able to identify what you're experiencing, because oftentimes some of us can't even identify our emotions related to these situations, identify the triggers. So just being, transparent, having natural supports, individuals who you feel comfortable with, who you feel may assist you in pointing you in the right direction, because I'm not trying to place that responsibility on them, because it's solely up to us once we do become aware. But, just being mindful, mindfulness, that's another great tool. It's discreet. It don't cost, money. You can do it in the comfort of your own home. But just really taking a moment to regroup, be present, focusing on gratitude. I think that's what we opened up with. And oftentimes, if we're unable to identify what we're grateful for, i.e. me at one point, the simple things like breath, the fact that I'm still physically able to move around,
Right.
the simple things, again, that we often overlook. That's my spiel.
I like to say, be intentional too. We always looking up stuff. I'm on social media. I'm looking up funny stuff. I'm watching funny stuff. But when these words that we say are thrown out here, mindfulness, we're talking about light exposure. Look those up to see how it could possibly affect you, or more importantly, go to a mental health professional to get an understanding of it. and be intentional about how you're moving to address your emotions and your feelings in general. And we don't really want to beat a dead horse on this one. We just really wanted to kind of bring awareness to it. Did I miss anything that y'all know of? We talked about what it is. We explained what it is, who it affects, and possible things, symptoms and possible things that could be beneficial in helping out with it. But there again, when we say those things that could be helping out with it, you are an individual. We're just talking in general. And these are just things that have happened in the past for other people. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. But when you get with a mental health professional, y'all can look at things that are more in tune or in line with who you are and what's going on with you. All right, we're gonna end it there. We're gonna keep it simple. I think this episode is coming out during Thanksgiving, or around about that time. So it ain't like a whole bunch of people going to be trying to do a whole bunch of listening to podcasts, but we definitely want to kind of be consistent and keep putting information out there. That being said, we thank y'all to everybody that's happened to be a part of this movement. Subscribe to Speaking with Gravity on Facebook and on Instagram. Also, we have 6-1 Event Rentals. Follow them. They provide rentals, 360 rentals, and what else?
So we're just an event rental company. Right now we're starting out with the 360 video booth. You guys can look that up. We're also known as the 360 photo booth, and we have additional party equipments coming soon in 2022.
Again, thank you to everyone that has liked, shared, and supported the movement to increase mental health awareness within our community. Thank you to Mr. Winston for all audio and visual productions. Thank you for taking the time to listen. You could be doing anything else right now, but you chose to listen to us, and we appreciate that. We are therapists, but this isn't therapy. It's a podcast.